So first, everyone goes in the room and introduces themselves. Then we have like a little floor for announcements. All that sort of takes about 20 minutes or so, and then you'll be up. And then, do you have a sense of how long your presentation is? Like 10, 15, something like that? So, okay, cool. And then like Q&A at the end. Cool.
4 slides. Try to keep it short and to the point.
Awesome. So, and then after that, we break out into groups, work on stuff. If you want to join, or if you want to get involved in the stuff you're going to talk about. We're going to run through everything, and you'll see how it goes. But, yeah.
Sounds good.
Cool. Hey, Paul. Hey, man. How's it going? Welcome. You're back. Yeah. Are you sticking around?
I've got like 25 minutes, 20 minutes. So I'm like
awesome. Yeah, and we're gonna get lunch tomorrow. Have you been to
I think
that place before? Monks? Yeah. It's where we had. It's where we had that happy hour.
Yeah, we're
gonna
picked up by literally picked up.
Wait, I don't remember that part.
Yeah, it was like really.
It happened. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Well, I guess we'll get started. You're live. You ready?
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's do it. Man, is there a way to only turn off front lights or something? I feel like I can't even see the screen.
I used to have the cardboard other people.
I know, it seems like someone's like, they replaced the bulbs with like super bulbs or something like that. Alright, I guess we're gonna get, that's fine, right? No, that's fine. What do you guys think?
That was better.
Yes. Oh, that one just didn't get the memo. It's just like always on. Okay, great. I think we're going to get started. So welcome everybody to the OpenGov Hack Night. This is the 134th OpenGov Hack Night. We've been doing this for about 2.5, almost 3 years now. I usually do this later, but right now I'll do it. How many of you raise your hands if this is your first Hack Night? All right, welcome to the new folks. Thanks for coming. For those of you who are new, I'm actually pretty curious about how you heard about this event. Did anybody want to volunteer? How'd you hear about this?
My friend invited me.
Hey, cool. And then you know about this thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, this is a weekly event for people to talk about open data and civic tech here in Chicago. And we're going to have a pretty awesome presentation tonight about the Hour of Code, which is something that you guys potentially could get involved with volunteering for. Cell phone silence, please, Rose. But before we get to that, we like to do a couple of things on the agenda. One is probably the most important one, my favorite, which is everyone goes around the room and just introduces themselves. After we do that, we'll have an open floor for announcements, so anybody can share if you have an event or some sort of news or some sort of app or anything that's sort of civic tech or open data related you'd like to share with this group. You're welcome to do that. Anybody can sort of just chime in and say whatever they want. And then after that, we'll get to our presentation, and then after that, we'll do the civic hacking portion of the evening, which we'll give you guys more details on in a bit. Anything else before we get started?
I think good.
Okay, cool. So I'll start with the introductions, and then we'll just kind of go around the room. So I'm Derek Eater. I'm an open data web developer and a partner at DataMate here in Chicago. I work out of 1871 here. Started this event about, like I said, 2.5 years ago, and I like to make stuff with open data.
Hi, my name is Christopher Whitaker. I'm a civic technology consultant here in Chicago and the Code for America Brigade Captain for Chicago.
Hi everybody, my name is Rosa Frier, and I am the lead on the social service delivery group here for Hack Night. And I'm also the project manager of M-Relief. It's an app that helps people figure out whether they qualify for social services.
Hi guys, my name's Alex Sobel. I used to work at Chicago Public Schools, so Jamal, I know where you are, but we were once coworkers maybe. And now I'm involved with Code for America.
I'm Rob Van Ness. I'm a policy fellow in the mayor's office.
I'm Claire Nicklin. I'm an interaction designer at University of Chicago.
I'm Aaron Rothenberg. I'm just interested in the data.
I'm James Moll, interested in the data.
Can kind of go around. Go ahead, Nick.
Adam Heckman. I'm Microsoft's Director of Technology and Civic Innovation, and we're also hosting an Hour of Code event at the Microsoft Technology Center.
Richard Harris. I'm a data scientist at Braintree, which is 4 floors down from here, and used to work at the University of Chicago Crime Lab.
I'm Quentin Holmes. I'm a budget analyst at the city of Chicago, and I'm interested in the data as well.
I'm Jamal Cornelious. You'll hear more from me a little bit later. But I work with Chicago Public Schools, and I actually met Alex 2 years ago when I was working here in 1871 for Citizen School, a long time ago. So I've been in contact for a while, but shamefully this is my first.
I'm gonna be a card though.
I'm Alex Kahn. I'm a web developer / data scientist, and I'm interested in making stuff.
I'm Matt. I'm a sysadmin, and I work on a project to find a leaky hose.
I'm Jeff Burke. I am a computation lead at Positive Energy, which is the engineering firm of Adrian Smith and Gordon Gill. I'm looking for JavaScript developers, statisticians, and back-end developers. So if you are any of those, please come see me.
And you're a Webby Award winner.
All right.
I'm Emily Mooney. I'm a writer, a content marketing strategist, and urban enthusiast.
I'm Josh Kalov, an open data consultant. I do work with Cook County government on their open data, and I'm also a facilitator for the education breakout group.
Cool. I'm Dick Vader. I'm a senior researcher at Chapin Hall at the University of Chicago. A lot of work in child and family welfare policy. I've been doing a lot of coding in R.
I'm Brian. I'm an application support analyst at Lotus Entertainment.
My name is Matt Hempel. I'm a co-founder of a company called Local Data that helps cities and institutions collect place-based data, and was a 2012 Code for America Fellow in Detroit.
I'm Matt. I'm a production engineer at a software company, sometimes journalist, and I'm going to Bolton in about 2 minutes.
I'm Declan. I'm a developer at a company called Triple Binder. We make apps for connecting people with social services.
My name is David Flood. I'm with the Climate Corporation. I'm a strategic account manager there. We actually take open data and build platforms for farmers.
Dave Galuski, Java architect with the STA group. I love data and co-ops and civics.
I'm Scott. I'm a software developer. I'm interested in urban sustainability especially, and I facilitate the environmental breakout group.
I'm Nicole. I'm a developer.
I'm Aaron Miller. I'm a software engineer with Siemens Healthcare.
Hey everyone, I'm Kathy Day. I work at Datamate here in 1871, and I'm a big fan of web and tech literacy.
My name is Manny Nelson. I'm a full-stack developer. I work for One Health Interactive.
My name is Richard Benke. I recently moved back from Asia where I was working in development in both Vietnam and India, and now I'm looking for a job.
I'm Gino Bernardi, and I'm really interested in city transportation.
Martin, I work on transportation planning for CNAP.
I'm Dennis Rorty. I'm a developer and also looking for.
Cool. Is that everybody? Okay, great. So moving on, we'll have open floor for announcements. So if anybody has any stuff they would like to share with this group of awesome people, now is your chance. Yeah, kind of. All right.
I mean, nothing big. New commissioners were sworn in yesterday for Cook County. So we have updated commissioner information, and also new commissioner district boundaries went into effect too. So the new and old boundaries are up on Cook County's portal.
And this is the Cook County Board of Commissioners, right? So there's 13 of those?
17.
17, okay. And just like the wards got redrawn, which happens every 10 years or so based on like census data, they do the same thing for Cook County. Did you know Cook County also breaks everything up into like ward-like districts? You may not know that. Cool. Any other announcements? Is this one or is this?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Rose, what's up?
Okay, mine is a small announcement. Okay, I'll stand up. Emerly is looking for interns. So we're looking for 2 interns. One, a JavaScript intern, and it's really lightweight, 10 hours a week. And a policy and operations intern. So someone who can help with sort of our like internal data management. So just hit me up if you know anyone that might be interested in helping out.
Starting when? Starting now?
Yeah, starting now. We're interviewing. It's kind of going to be on an ongoing basis, but we hope to really, really fully get started January 1st.
Thanks, Rose. Anybody else? What's up, man?
Alright.
Oh, go ahead, Kathy.
Oh yeah. Can you click on?
Oh, sorry. We want me to click
Second
on
one?
this thing?
Yeah.
This one right here?
So last week I started a community blog for Hack Night called Civic Tech Voices, and we have our first post, and it's an intro to web scraping, and it's a pretty good intro to level tutorial if you're new to coding, so you should check that out. And also, this isn't necessarily going to be just like a technology blog, so if you have any ideas or posts, like stories or general skill sharing, you should email me and we can post it.
Cool.
What's the theme of the blog?
Civic tech things.
I think it's people that come to this event.
Yeah.
And it's technology, but also just civics in general. Like anything, I guess you could see yourself having a conversation here about anybody, with anybody here. That's probably appropriate for this blog.
Yeah, and also something that's just like a little less for announcements, but more for like maybe discussing or sharing thoughts.
Cool. Sorry, you had one. What's up, James?
In January, I'm going to start going through the Andrew NG, whatever, his machine learning course on Coursera, and I'm trying to put together a little group of us to go all through it together. We'll be doing it in R and Python, or one or the other. So if you're interested in that, let me know so I can get a head count.
Awesome. Thanks. Scott, what's up?
Yeah, so next Monday I'm going to be teaching Intro to Web Development for General Assembly. It's here. You could go sign up on the General Assembly website. And as an added bonus, we're going to build a website in the class using data from the City of Chicago's Open Data Portal.
Woohoo, nice. Spread the gospel, man.
What's that?
Spread the gospel.
Right.
Where did they get to it from this? Or
Chicago.
is there a
maybe,
campus?
Classes and workshops.
Actually, would you mind just posting it to the Google group? So we also, just so you guys know, what I was clicking on earlier was we have a Google group for this particular event. So it's linked to on the OpenGov Hack Night website, and you can find it there, or it's just the Chai Hack Night Google group. If you just Google that, you'll find it. Yeah, and there's about 350 people or so on the list, so it's like a pretty decent following now. And it's a place for just sharing announcements and just talking to people in this community. Other announcements?
An hour after.
Oh, for what? For your breakout group? Oh, let's do it for the breakout groups. Yeah. Anybody else? I have two actually, if that's okay. So wait, not this one. Yeah, this one. So if you are on the list, the Google group, there's been a recent development with a piece of legislation going through the Illinois House and Senate. So back, I think I want to say in like April, there was a FOIA bill that was put forward that was sort of described as a reform bill for FOIA law. But actually what it does is it introduces a bunch of changes to FOIA law that actually makes it harder to get records from the government. And so the governor actually vetoed it, but we happen to be in the veto session now for the Illinois Senate and the Illinois State House. And the House actually, I believe, a week and a half ago, voted to override the governor's veto, and it has moved on to the Senate. And I believe they're voting on it tomorrow. So it sounds like there's a high likelihood that this bill will pass, which is a big bummer. So I've been trying to kind of keep tabs on these developments. There's a thread on here about it. And the most recent one is that there actually has been quite a bit more press about this particular bill as it moves through the Senate. So the State Journal Register, the Better Government Association, and Progress Illinois have all come out to vote, like to say that this is a bad thing and people should vote against it. So I'm just trying to do what I can to try to leverage this community's power to just do what everybody else does and call your representative. I'm also interested in thinking about other ways that we can actually use technology to improve that engagement. calling is a thing you can do, right? Anybody can do it. I have no idea how effective it is. I don't know anybody who knows how effective it could be. So I'd love to know if anybody has any like contacts in one of these offices to like, how do they actually go through the process of like, if I call, what does that mean? Like, does that go into some system? How does that actually get tracked by our elected representatives? I have no idea. So I'd like to learn more about that. Because one thought I had was like, well, we also use like Twitter a lot in this group. Would it be possible to leverage some sort of tools to make it easier to tweet at your representatives? Is that more effective than calling? It seems like it's certainly a lot more public, and there's a potential for people to like retweet those things, and then you can kind of maybe build a bigger sort of snowball effect to get more people aware of an issue. Maybe it's much more, could potentially be much more effective than just calling, one person calling. So if anybody is interested in like talking about this or thinking about ideas, it's something that I'm pretty interested in. So it's something I think it could be a good thing to focus on. Obviously, tomorrow is like a pretty quick deadline, but you know, this is something that's like potentially going to be a tool that could be useful anytime there's legislation, right? So that we want to sort of be active on. So I think it's something that we could start thinking about tools now. Yeah.
I may have a path for some of that information you're looking for.
Cool.
So let's talk.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, so there'll be breakout groups later. We've mentioned that before. So if anybody wants to talk to me about some of that stuff, we can maybe start a little breakout group. So that's my first one. Any questions on that?
Just a
Yeah,
quick
what's up,
comment
Rose?
that it's been my understanding, at least, that maybe calls and traditional sort of ways of communicating might be better than Twitter, just because I think it matters to a lot of senators where people are coming from, and sometimes with Twitter you can't tell if these are your constituents.
Right, because they want to know it's their constituents that care about this issue, right?
Mhm.
The thing is, I called my state representative, Tony Barrios, and I talked, and it was like, I was like, hey, I think you should vote no on this thing, and I'm from Logan Square, and these are the reasons. And the person was just like, oh, okay, so I'll just mark you down as a no. And then like she just wanted to get that, and I also have talked to some other folks who say apparently there's these systems that a lot of elected officials use to like log constituent requests, and it's like a big database. So if that call is just going to end up as a tally in the database anyways, why not like use technology to like leverage that so it's easier to get the tally in the database? Like maybe that's an approach. Yeah.
Maybe we could use Twilio to do tweet to call. So all those tweeters can end up just
whoa, all right. See? We have the power. Things, right?
I have
tomorrow.
Oh yeah, sure, go ahead.
I just happened to notice this while you're talking about FOIA. Speaking of FOIA and speaking of CPS, if you go to, on CPS now, if you go to Freedom of Information Act requests and go to FOIA Archive, it takes forever to load, but when it eventually does, they are now posting requests and apparently posting at least some response documents on the right. I saw one. I don't know why it's not showing up here. There you go.
Yeah.
So there's some. So there's like 7 pages worth of FOIA getting posted.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Also, side note, the company that runs this service is called GovQA.
Yes.
And yeah, these guys right here. And they are apparently like, they do FOIA services for like a bunch of different governments. There's like, you know, fascinating. So sorry, I mentioned I had one more announcement and then we can get to the presentation. This one's more fun. So yesterday we launched a project called Geomancer. It's got a cool name. It's a project that we did for the Associated Press, and they got funding from the Knight Foundation to build a tool that can take any spreadsheet and attach geographic information to it. So the idea is, say you have a spreadsheet with a bunch of data and it's maybe got states in a column, you can then use that information about the state to go look up other information from, say, like the census and say, what's the population of that state? Or, you know, what's the median household income? And there's a bunch of different data sources that we've added to launch with. So anyways, it's a free and open source tool if anybody wants to, and these are the data sets we support and the geographies we support. So like zip code, city, county, FIPS codes, which is like census IDs. School districts are even in there. So the idea is to like really like make it easier to get data, like mash up data, And this is this idea came from the Associated Press. This is a need they actually had as a newsroom. And so they applied to get the grant, they got it, and then they hired DataMate to do it. So we launched it yesterday. It's free for anybody to use. It's for journalists, but anybody I can think in this room could see value in using this thing. So check it out. Again, the code's open source if you want to see how we did it. That's also on there too. But yeah, just wanted to share that with you guys.
What's that? I can't see what that slide is. Geomancer?
Geomancer.io.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was gonna send out. I'll send out an email to the list
Yeah,
just so
great.
people can see it. But yeah. Okay. Any other announcements before we get into the main event? Okay, great. Well then, Jamal, it's all yours. Let's hear about the hour of code. Let's see if we can pull it up. Yeah, sure. Did you have it up? Is this your machine or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've never been called the main event before. That's pretty cool. I don't know if Pacquiao's going to run out any time and just swipe one at me.
Is this it right here? I'll let you run the show. Cool.
Cool. All right.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Derek. My name is Jamal Cornelious. I am the project manager at Chicago Public Schools for the Computer Science for All initiative. What I wanted to do is come to talk to you guys today, one, about the Computer Science for All initiative, just to let you know some of the things that we have going on at Chicago Public Schools to help develop more young people into be thinkers and creators like yourselves, and also give you a little bit more information on something that's in the very near future, which is Hour of Code. So show of hands, who in the room has heard of the Computer Science for All initiative? Got one from Microsoft, awesome. We've got two, fantastic. Three, great. So I get to be the first person to tell you about it. So in December of 2013, Mayor Rahm Emanuel and Chicago Public Schools CEO Barbara Byrd Bennett announced that they were going to launch an initiative to bring computer science education to all students in Chicago Public Schools. So with this, we launched a partnership with Code.org, and we've developed a K-12 curriculum scope and sequence to help bring computer science education to all students in the district. One of the mandates for this program is not only to make computer science available to students, but to make it something that's necessary. We know that in the world that we live in, technology is just as important as your math and your science, your reading and your writing and everything else. It's fundamental now. Our students have never known a world without iPads and tablets, but yet they don't know how to manipulate them, how to create using them. So what we aim to do is level the playing field and help our students in these public schools get the opportunities that other students are paying thousands of dollars in private schools to do. So with that, our students are going to have exposure to K-8 computer science in the early grades, and computer science in high school will become a graduation requirement within 5 years. So Chicago is the first major school district to take on K-12 computer science education. We launched this past year, and our first cohort of schools, we have 46 schools serving over 15,000 students in K-12 learning computer science, many for the first time. With that, we trained 200 teachers who are coming from different specialties, their math, their science, some of them are physical education teachers, but they understand the importance of computer science, and they went through very rigorous professional development to come back and lead these courses for their students in this first year. The goal of Computer Science for All, like I said, is to have computer science be a graduation requirement within 3 years, and also to offer up AP computer science and increase the number of young women and minorities engaged in computer science. This year in Chicago Public Schools, we were able to bring on 6 additional schools who are now offering AP computer science courses in their public schools. So one of the things that we've done to help both launch the initiative and also spark interest in our students is introduce them to the Hour of Code. So next week is Computer Science Education Week, and this is where students all across the world are going to have the opportunity to explore computer science, whether for the first time or dive a little deeper, by participating in an Hour of Code. Through this, we've partnered with Microsoft, we've partnered with Code.org to offer these tutorials to our students that allow them to learn entry-level JavaScript, allow them to understand and demystify the world of computer science so that they know it's not something that someone does in a back room at Google, it's something that any and everyone can do. So far, as of this morning, we have had we've got 60,000 students and over 260 school sites in Chicago alone registered to participate in the Hour of Code next week. These are just public school sites, and we also have library sites and nonprofit partners and corporate partners who are going to be hosting Hour of Code events for students all across the city. Last year, Chicago sat atop the leaderboard for the entire week of Hour of Code and well beyond. So we had more students coding and learning code for the first time than any other city across the world. So this year, we not only want to stay atop the leaderboard, we want to make sure that all of our students are getting exposed to this and have the opportunity to fully engage and start to dive deeper into computer science. So this brings me to you. I know you've all been sitting here like, oh, this sounds fantastic. So what does that have to do with me? One of the great things about the Hour of Code is that it's not only an opportunity for students to learn, it's an opportunity for us to engage with the next generation and help give them that introduction to something that we know and love. We're going to have several opportunities across the next week to connect you and professionals like yourselves to students around the city who have never explored computer science, and you'd have the opportunity to help facilitate or help coach students through an Hour of Code. And we're going to be using code.org tutorials from the Microsoft website, and pretty much anyone who's developed something, whether it's codable. All of our schools have different tools that they're really excited about, but this is an opportunity for you to go in and pick it up and help introduce a student to something that you love. What I've listed up here are several of the school sites who specifically requested that we bring them volunteers, and also library branches that are across the city that are opening their doors to students to host an Hour of Code. And these are all going to be opportunities for you to go into the schools or go into the libraries and engage with groups of students from our public schools and help them learn a little bit more about the world of computer science. What I'd like to do after the end of this session is actually pass out, we're going to go old school and pass out a sign-in sheet, because we have over 260 opportunities, and we want to make sure that you are going to be matched with the one that best fits your location and that best fits the time that you're available, the days that you're available to work. So we're going to be passing around those sheets after the session. But this overall is Hour of Code. We're hoping to continue to keep Chicago atop the leaderboard, but more importantly than that, we're hoping to give our students new skills and an opportunity to be exposed to a skill set that they didn't think or know that they had. So with that, I'd like to open up the floor for questions. Do you have questions about the Computer Science Education Week, Hour of Code, or any of the locations that we have?
So when you talk about, first of all, I just want to say thank you for coming to this space. I was just going to jump to my
Thank you guys for having me.
I think this is really great and exciting. And I definitely want to give at least an hour. I guess that's what you're asking for. So I guess my question is around when you talk about like the computer science education requirement, what does that really mean? Does it mean that you will like have more of a theory-based sort of curriculum, or will it be more like application-based? Like, is the goal to develop an app at the end of your high school career? Like, what does that look like? I know that may be a huge question.
It's a great question, and the answer is yes. So the graduation requirement will be our Exploring Computer Science course, which is our introductory computer science course. It was developed with UCLA, some researchers from UCLA in conjunction with LA Unified School District, and it's endorsed by the Computer Science Teachers Association. So what it does is give students a more holistic look into computer science. So they get to explore human-computer interaction, they get to explore gaming, HTML, there's also some project-based. So it gives them a little taste of the different facets of computer science, so that from there they can choose whether or not they'd like to continue and go into the AP Computer Science course, which is called Computer Science Principles. So what it will do is just give everyone the Math 101 version of computer science. It'll give you that introduction to the things that you need to know at least exist, and you'll have a chance to try them. Great question, thank you.
For the Hour of Code, if we came to volunteer, is there some kind of curriculum that we'd be working from or through, or how does that actually get structured?
Absolutely. So for the Hour of Code, we want to make it as turnkey as possible. And what we have here are these tutorials that are on code.org/learn. And they're some of the easiest accessible tutorials. And what they do consist of about 20 different modules that take roughly 45 minutes to an hour to walk through. And what we'd ask as a volunteer is that you take the time to, either on your lunch break or some other available time, to walk through the tutorials just to get an understanding of what they are. A lot of the tutorials, the basic ones, use Blockly as a programming language, so it's simple drag and drop. So a lot of the things that, you know, we wish we had as our building blocks, you know, 10 years ago when we were interested. And so you can kind of peruse and figure out, you know, which tutorials would be best suited for you. And with that, we'll be able to match you with which schools you want to work with.
How are most schools implementing the hour code? Is it students who are already in computer science classes? Are other teachers doing it? Is it after school?
Yeah, it's a little bit of all of the above, but the majority of our schools are actually opting for whole school implementation. So for example, only 24 elementary schools offer computer science right now as a part of the Computer Science for All initiative, but we have somewhere around 100 elementary schools that are going to be offering the hour of code. So none of the students have prior experience with hour of code. So the teachers are going to be either their regular classroom teachers, technology teachers, and it's scaffolded out throughout the week so that each student in the school has an opportunity to participate.
Is there a math prerequisite? And I guess a slightly different question, what type of investments are being made to either bring computers or hardware to school to enable like children who don't have access to computers in their home to be able to like really keep up in there?
Great question. So, and this is again referring to the high school graduation requirement?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there isn't a math prerequisite for the computer science course. You know, a lot of the basics that it covers will, you know, the students will have that baseline coming out of 8th grade and into their freshman year, and the majority of the schools in Computer Science for All are offering it as their sophomore year course.
Oh, okay.
So there isn't a math prerequisite. As far as infrastructure goes, we try to work with, as a team, we work with our schools to make sure that they, one, have the infrastructure technology that they would need and, you know, the infrastructure around it, the bandwidth, et cetera, to operate the program. And we have a lot of fantastic teachers who are willing and able to stay a little bit later, you know, after school if they're working with students on their homework or if they need additional time in tutoring. So that's one of the ways that we work around, you know, making sure if students don't have the technology in their home, that they still have access to, you know, technology to actually complete the tutorials.
If we sign up today, or actually when we all sign up today, are we going to be, will you put us in touch with the teacher ahead of time so we can ask them questions, talk to them, and I don't know, so that's, we know, just so we're like, hey, I'm a random person in your school.
Absolutely, and that's why we're going for the old school sign-up sheet. That way we can play a bit more of a matchmaker and connect you directly to the teachers and the people who are coordinating on the ground so that you can speak directly to them and know where you need to be on that day.
Cool.
Any other questions? Anyone wants to know how tall I am? Fantastic. Oh, one more.
Actually, my area of specialization is in education. What kind of opportunities are there for someone who does not know how to help?
Yeah, that's a great question. What type of opportunities would you feel you'd be best suited for?
I do marketing and PR for schools, for public school systems, districts.
Interesting. I think this would be a bit off the beaten path, but if you,
Okay.
I think we have a.
If you go to that code.org/learn, you're going to see that some of the coding languages aren't really languages at all. It's something that you literally could pick up sitting down with it for maybe 45 minutes, and then adding to that your marketing background. Talk to them about design. Talk to them about what makes things stand out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That was pretty much what I was going to say. I don't have a computer science background, and I've been able to go through the tutorials and really understand them. But also, as a Marcom professional, you'd be able to kind of segue this into, you know, what it's like to build a site using WordPress, because those are the things that you manage, and what's a real world application for, you know, this programming language, even if you don't want to be a programmer.
And there's nothing on the site that says that only children are allowed to learn. So anybody use this as an opportunity. Like honestly, like the best way to actually be the best way to learn things on your own is actually to have to go through the process. To like, man, I gotta teach this to someone else. I better learn it, right?
Yes.
And like that's oftentimes when it's fresh in your mind, it's easier to explain to someone else, because if it's something that you've known for 10 years, things just sort of come, like you take it for granted, right? Oh, right, of course. You didn't know that? Well, I forgot that I didn't know that.
I do community relations and for public schools, so this is actually the first time I've ever met someone who is pro FOIA. This is new for me. We're usually shut it down.
that was a fantastic question. And, you know, like Derek said, it's one of those things where I had never really experienced it, and I was like, okay, let me figure out what this really is before we dive into it. So, you know, if I'm working with students, I really understand it. And next thing I knew, half my workday was gone, and I had to stay a little later to get the things accomplished because I just went through, you know, a tutorial after tutorial, and it was just really fun. I didn't think it was, my preconceived notion was that it was going to be more complex, and I needed some sort of background to really understand it. So to be able to debunk that as an adult, you know, it's really powerful to go back and say and debunk that same myth for a sixth grader who still has the opportunity to, you know, choose this as a path.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, fantastic. Thank you guys for having me, and we'll be passing around the look forward to working with you all.
Awesome. Thank you. Cool. So awesome. So we're moving on in the agenda here. Where is the old? Hold on. Where's like the menu for getting? Man. Ha. Alt tab. I have power.